Welcome back to CanHammer, everybody, your source for 40K from the Great White North. This is a special work in progress video with Ryan.
Hi, I'm Ryan from 1 Year, 1 Army. 1
Year, 1 Army painting. Look it up. We'll put the link in the comments below. And he has graciously come over to my house. You recognize Ryan. He's been on Bat Reps before.
I never win any, though.
Is that true?
So far, I think.
I'm going to have to check the record. But he's been here before, and he's graciously come over to lend us his expertise in starting off my Nagash project. So we got Nagash here in the sub-assembly of the bottom, which we're going to just practice transitions.
The rest of my purple is all gone.
So also we are letting my my young sprout here start her Warhammer career, and she's painted up this lovely purple and orange Centurion, and she's doing one now that's in oh, you got some blending there too, Charlotte. It's kind of like blue, green, and yellow. Excellent. So she's starting her Warhammer career, so you might hear her in the background. And of course, Reggie. Reggie.
Sponsored by Reggie.
Sponsored by Reggie, who is cautiously watching. Alright, so what we're going to do now is the first step here. We're going to prime this baby black and get back to you. So
can you get me more purple?
We will in a second, Charlotte.
Because my purple is all dried up.
Yeah. So we're going to use this, what's it called? Can't really actually read what it's called.
Stop.
Anyway, it's a primer from Badger, I believe. And so we're going to check it out, and we're going to spray that on. Alright, so she's done 2 Centurions and the base of the third one, but you didn't want to paint the whole miniature, eh, Charlotte? Yeah. Just the base? That's a pretty good job on that base there, Charlotte. And now she's painting this statue. So you might see that in future Bat Reps. I, in the meantime, have finished priming Nagash here, which was, so what's easier, that or a spray can? I don't know, spray can's pretty easy, but spray can will be hard to direct for this model because there's so many overlapping bits and you might end up with a whole bunch on one part. So actually probably this is better to do with the airbrush, but certainly it didn't take very long.
And the primer was super easy.
And that primer was super good, Ben.
Yeah,
Thumbs up.
That was good.
So cool, and I really like this swizzle base. I'll have to get one. For these big models too, because they're hard to hold.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next, Ryan?
Okay, so what our goal is to...
Can I do my own video?
No, quiet, please, Charlotte.
Our goal is to have the top of the cloak still black and very dark.
Yeah. And
then we're gonna bleed it into a blue, and we're gonna make it more and more ghostly as we come around to the actual ghost that'll be much brighter, right? So we'll start with dark, and we'll get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter.
Okay.
So the way we're gonna start with that for airbrushing is we're gonna take a, sorry?
We'll just show our viewers the reference picture. So here's the reference picture. Actually, I don't have the accreditation, I'm sorry, but whoever did it is obviously very good. But we're kind of aiming for mostly black, and then goes into this kind of blue ghost that gets pretty well highlighted there. So I wanted him a little bit darker as opposed to the kind of slightly cheesy purple color. Because, you know, that's the new AOS. It's a lot darker now. It's not so cheesy anymore.
Right. Well, it's called the Black Armor of Nagash, right?
But yeah, and it's not, so it shouldn't be purple. You know, got Stormcast walking around with their helmets on now, so it's pretty grim. It's becoming more grim and dark.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the first step?
Okay, so what we're gonna do before we put any color on it is we're gonna do our pre-shading.
Okay.
So this is
so
where,
it's not already shaded?
Yeah, so this is where...
All of my colors are dried.
Okay, quiet please, Sarah.
We've got a Hormigaunt here.
All of my colors are dried.
He started black.
Okay.
And what we've done is we've thrown, not a white, because it never works as well, but we've thrown a sort of a buff color on top of them. And this is giving us our shadows, right? So under him is a lot darker than the top of him.
Yeah.
And the idea here is just that when I throw my color, a thinned color, on top of this guy, because I've got my shading done already, what'll happen is I'll have the brightest point of the color here, and then it'll become more saturated and more saturated and more shadowy,
it
right?
influences the top color.
Yes, very much so. And with an airbrush, like when you're doing brush work with a paintbrush, it's usually too thick to catch these things, right?
Yeah.
Like it's usually you don't glob it on, but it's usually too thick.
Yeah.
Despite how many thin coats you claim to have, right?
Yeah.
But with an airbrush, it's super thin, so you can really tell the difference. So what we're gonna do next, and it's probably the most fun part of this whole thing, is we're gonna be starting our shade. So we'll start where it's lighter, and we'll just work it along the tendrils, and then we'll have to be careful when we're spraying these guys, for example.
But the cloak is black.
So we'll have to mask it.
Yeah, we'll have to put a sheet of paper.
Behind it or something like that, so that when we spray these guys light, we don't overspray the model behind it, right?
We could always respray it, I guess.
If we have to, yes, we can totally respray it if we need to.
Yeah. Okay.
Sound good?
So we want to be putting like this off-white or white or whatever, like down here, basically.
Yeah.
Going up into the cloak a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna try and build our highlights before we put any color down. Yeah. It'll save time later.
These tendrils that actually become ghosts will just white all the way up, I guess.
Yeah, so we can, what we'll do is, with airbrushing, it's called saturation, and it's where if I put just a little bit of a color on something, it'll be really dark, right?
Yeah.
Like the shadow part of this guy here, right?
Yeah.
But if I put a lot more of the color on, and by just like swiping back and forth, gently applying even coats, right? This will become brighter and brighter and brighter.
Okay.
So hopefully the next time you guys cut to this, we'll have some of it pre-shaded already.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Okay.
All right, welcome back, CanHammer fans. We're just gonna do a little bit of a really basic tutorial on zenithal highlighting.
All right.
This is just to sort of get Darren's confidence up for shading his Nagash a little bit. So I've got just Chaos chosen here. And
they deserve nothing better than just to get sprayed in the face.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something called a zenithal highlighting, which is basically you pretend there's a ring around the top of the model, like a sunlight up here.
Yeah.
And we're going to just spray it. What we can do is we can hold our brush sort of in one place, move the model around, right? So we're just gonna try and get it so that there's more light up here than down here.
Okay.
And we'll try and do it across some of the features as well, so that we get, so we pick his features.
Where's the pink?
All right, so for this one, I've got a little bit of Titan Buff. This is the golden
buff.
Yeah. Well, these are the real paint colors. These are the paint colors.
You're
that
looking
aren't,
tight and buff.
That's right. So these are the high flow acrylics by Golden. They're like the pre-thinned Vallejo Air.
Pre-thinned Vallejo. Okay.
Like they're like Vallejo Air, right? How they're thinned and ready for use right out of the go. So
can you get those anywhere in Ottawa?
Yeah. So you can get them. Actually, I got this one from Desserts.
Okay. Desserts. Okay.
Yeah, what was that? Rue Montagne, I think.
Yeah, I walk into Desserts and I guess just overwhelmed by variety.
Yeah, because it's like the real artists. Yeah, no, we're all real artists here, guys. All right, don't be intimidated by those thugs. I like to start on the shoulder pads just in case I had any kind of weird overspray. I'm just making sure that it's coming out nice out of my brush.
Yep.
And all we're gonna do is we're just gonna move back and forth over it.
Okay.
So we'll always push down our trigger first, so that we're starting to shoot air before we shoot paint. And then I'm just shooting the smallest amount.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
So it's this gestalt of just pulling back.
Yeah, I'm only pulling back the smallest amount.
Because when I first started doing my night, it was just like bam, white.
And we are changed colors, yeah. So the nice part about this is we're catching all of his highlights, right? So we can see the lines in his bolter, right? Or the details across his face.
Yeah, I get it.
So let's do a little bit more, just because I want a little bit more consistent. Now I'll come from the bottom. So now we've done everything from the top, right? But I don't want the view from below to be completely black. I want there to be a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna spray the smallest amount up in here, just so that my model's not completely black.
Yeah.
But this way at the end, I've got a mini that I've got all my major shadows done.
Yep.
If I wanted to only paintbrush this from now on, I could know this is sort of like saying, okay, these are the areas that have to be highlighted, like highlighted more than the other areas, right?
Yeah.
But most people don't want to do that.
No, you just spray it with your actual color.
That's right, yeah. So now what we're gonna do is we'll spray it with an actual color, and we'll do it really thin, and you'll see the difference between here and here.
Yeah.
So when we cut, we'll actually do that. All right.
All right.
So we just finished our shading. Now we're just going to throw an example color on it. This is going to give us, it's called green gold. It's again golden high flow acrylic.
Green gold.
Green gold. Yeah, sort of like these, I don't know, spring green. So we're going to throw this guy over our pre-shaded Death Guard, or now he's going to be Death Guard because we're playing him green and keeping it fluffy. And all we're going to do is just show you how the same color going on darker parts will affect lighter parts, right?
Yep.
Make sure it comes out good. All right.
It's a pretty sickly green color.
Yeah. Now just do it really light. Because with airbrushing, when you do too much, you pretty much ruin it. You can anyway. So now I'm gonna make sure I get it from the bottom as well. So I'm spraying all the model relatively evenly. As always, guys and gals, whenever you're airbrushing, you should have masks and gloves on, unlike what I am doing. So do what I say, not what I do. Because, yeah, crap can be painful.
All
so,
right.
Here's our model, but we can see that we've got a lot more brightness on the shoulder pads where we were the brightest than we do on, say, the bolter.
Yeah.
Right? But the same amount of paint went on every surface of this model.
Yeah.
Right? So now if I was continuing this, I would throw a wash on it and maybe pick out some of the edges as like a bronze or something like that.
Yeah.
And you could do a dry brush for the horns, and then you might be done.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. That's really useful because up to this point I've been afraid to do small models, right? Because I'm like, well, you're just gonna hit the whole thing with a bunch of spray and then it's gonna look crappy.
Yeah. So another thing for small models, right? The closer you are, the smaller. Am I right? The closer you are, right, versus back away.
Yeah.
Right. And you can control the amount of paint you're throwing through.
Because if you put too much when you're that close, then it's gonna like spider out.
Here is too much, right?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And you're
That's
ruining
what happens to me.
You're an all or nothing kind of guy, Darren.
Yeah, you know, it's either green or it's white. Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm pulling back on the trigger, right, it's barely pulling back, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the paint coming through doesn't need very much to get through.
That's certainly something I got to get the hang of for sure.
All right. So now we're gonna apply the same principle to Nagash.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
So we're ready to start Nagash. So I'm going to do my pre-shading. I've got my Buff Titan back on.
Tight and buff.
And the idea here, like I said before, is we're going to try and make the ghosts a lot brighter than the cloak, who will still be black. And we're going to make sure we transition from white to black by the time we get to the cloak. And then what we'll do is we'll throw the color on top of it and it'll pick out the details.
Nice.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my lightest area. So I'm going to start up here on the ghosts, and we'll work our way down, and we'll have to mask.
Because it's also bright at the bottom, right? So it's kind of like bright, darker, bright.
Well, yeah. So do you want it to be like?
Because some of them end up in his cloak, but some of them just end up as ghosts.
Ah, okay.
I'm not sure how you figured.
Well, I was
do that.
Okay, because I was thinking it's going to be dark until like. Pause here. So we're going to do our pre-shading, and we're going to go from the white as the ghosts, and we're going to go all the way to black on the cloak and Nagash. The only other thing, because we're in a sub-assembly, I just wanted to see what the orientation of Nagash was going to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's something like this, right?
Yeah.
Which means it's always kind of helpful when you're looking at a model to try and figure out what sort of angle is the best angle to look at this guy. And it's usually, if you're trying to figure it out, usually what direction they're facing. Not always. So I know that he's going to be looking at this book. So the optimal angle is going to be from you guys somewhere like this,
yeah.
Right? Which means I'm just going to, when all things are being equal, I'm going to be a little brighter on this side than I am on that side.
Okay. Makes sense.
This sort of changes for every model, and it's a little bit more advanced, but I'm just trying to help make sense of this crazy cloak.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a pretty convoluted model.
Yeah, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get started up here. Always air before paint.
Yeah, I really like that tip actually.
Yeah, I'm just going to...
Probably stop you from
really blasting it. Yeah, absolutely. And that happens when you're not paying attention to it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just covering the cloak so I can't hit it.
Because the cloak needs to be black.
Yeah, the cloak needs to be black. If we mess it up, we got to start again. That's no fun. All right, so I want to keep going. That might not be the lightest that will make those ghosts.
Yeah, but you can always put
exactly, we can always go back to it. So I'm just trying to make sure that my tendrils are going to be about the same. It's kind of nice to move your thing back and forth, never just like sit there and go spray.
Yeah, I also learned that the hard way. Because then it just becomes a pile of paint in one spot.
Yeah, that's no good either.
What's the hardest model you ever painted? Most technically difficult?
I really like a Magnus I finished a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Thank you. It was challenging for me because I took the armor off. I didn't use any of the armor.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have him holding his power globe, so I modeled it on, so I sculpted the globe over there.
Yeah.
But what that meant was there was a lot of like bare-chested red Magnus to go.
He's pretty tight and buff.
Tight and buff. Oh man.
You're never gonna look at this color the same way again.
Never.
Okay, I'm done, Daddy.
Okay.
But it's difficult sometimes to have large areas of the same color.
Yeah.
And it can make it hard to make that look good.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing the back of the ghosts now. So I've got to make sure that there's nothing overspraying onto the cloak. We're just going to keep it really light. It's not quite enough coverage. There we go.
There we go.
And if you find you don't quite have the right shape, this is just a piece of paper or a piece of palette.
Yeah.
Feel free to cut it. There are other tricks you can use, like
my parafilm.
Yeah, like Darren's parafilm. I'm actually super excited about that.
You could just wrap the whole cloak in parafilm.
Oh yeah. Actually, that might have been easier than I think it is, so I should probably check it out.
Just don't wash it like I did. Alright, so
we're getting there. So I think I've got the tendrils pretty much where I want them.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now is just do, except for this one, what I want to do now is just the tips of the cloaks.
Yeah, so at this point you kind of decide how far up you want the blue to go versus the black. And I guess this ratty area is the transition zone.
Yeah, plus it might be hard to see, but there are little folds in the fabric here, like lips, and this will be places that you could that I can try and highlight now, but you might find
just do a brush later.
Yeah, like that the biggest highlight will be the best spot just along these sort of rips and tears.
I didn't even notice that on the model till we started working on it.
Yeah.
Like the little bits that are folded over.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna try and do, I just wanna, okay, yeah, so here's the next another tip for everybody. I want to hit just the tip of this, right? But I'm not gonna just start my airbrush on it, because my airbrush will make a cone and it'll make a really obvious line, right?
Okay.
So what I do is I start down here on the page and I drag it up into it.
Ah,
okay.
Nice tip.
So, now I can see where I'm going. I'm just gonna pull it up a little bit, right?
Nice.
So rather than starting here, the cone is now starting sort of down there.
Nice, okay, I like it.
A few other little spots. This needs to be a little bit brighter, but I can do the same sort of idea. Just gonna go a little bit more and catch this one. because we want this to be a little bit more ghostly.
Yeah, the play on that one. I really like your compressor. It doesn't actually make noise.
Yeah. So we can talk about this later, but it's got a tank rather than yours, because when you don't have a tank, there's nowhere for it to hold the compressed air, right?
Turning on, yeah.
Well, the other place to hold it is the hose.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you have a really short hose.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's not tight and buff.
That's right. But my long hose here can hold a lot more air. God, we're all mature adults here, guys.
Warhammers.
Warhammers.
For adults. Well, it certainly makes filming videos of airbrushing quieter.
Yeah, probably, eh? Here.
How about this area here?
I see. Okay.
Oh, I didn't see you sprayed much on the other side. Okay.
Yeah, because it's like.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So I'm happy to do that. I'm just gonna make this a little bit brighter, brighten it up. So what you'll have to do, Darren, later is paint the base like a different color. You'll want to contrast with the base. So you can always just pick up. I don't usually like picking the model up like this. Sometimes you have to, because the idea is, like, one, from the tabletop, you're almost always looking at it from above, right? And two, this style of painting is better for light from above, right? Like, that's sort of the game we're playing. Yeah. In which case, you know, you don't really want to paint the underneath of it too much, because it gives you, because it helps give you the illusion, right?
Yeah.
But let's make it a little whiter. How do we do on our ghosts? Are they all pretty bright? So I'm just finishing up the ghosts and trying to make them a little brighter. So the other thing about airbrushing is, right now I'm brightening the color by using, it's called saturation, but it's basically just, I have more paint on this than I do on that, so it's brighter here. Yeah. Which is true for everything, except usually when you have brush paint, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Because it's just
the same color.
Yeah.
Unless you want to mess around with lots of mediums and stuff.
Yeah, you can totally thin your paints, like thin your brush paints. But I think that's looking pretty good. That looks really good. Maybe what we'll do is just hit this little guy right here just for fun. So I'm just catching on my finger and bring it over. There we go. Cool. So we'll just find a couple of little.
That's advanced.
That's right. Like, well, yeah, I mean, you can use, like, should use gloves, whatever, I don't. But you can use, like, hands, anything to mask your mini. But you have to be a little careful, because if you're trying to do something very particular, like a straight line, you can't just hold your thumb against it and expect to get a perfect thumb imprint, because the paint will travel under your piece of paper, right? It'll travel under your piece of paper or under your thumb or whatever. Okay. It'll wrap around, and that's how you get really fuzzy sort of lines when you wanted straight lines. So you have to use like your paraffin or like a mask, like an actual mask, that gives you a straight line. Yeah. But I think
that looks great.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this one turned out. Awesome. So we're just gonna let this dry for just a second, and then we'll switch it into some color and see if we made this thing pop enough. Sound good to you?
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, so we're using the Leo Electric Blue, which is this awesome color that actually looks a lot like the picture that we're working from. Yeah. Like the brighter blue highlights. So here we go.
This is Game Air, so it was pre-thinned again, so we barely have to thin anything.
So we're trying to just kind of hit where we hit white with the blue, and not so much at the top of the cloak there, because that's the transition from blue to black. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Excited and nervous at the same time.
Don't be nervous. All right, so we're just gonna start and make sure that I'm just making sure I don't have any weird overspray or anything like that. Good, so I'm starting up here on my ghosts. I'm going really thin. I just want them to start.
I barely see that.
Yeah, I just want them to start thinking like they're blue. Now I'm gonna go up and down the tendrils here.
Maybe I should invest in the proper airbrushing.
Yeah, do it.
It's ghetto box.
They're so good.
Maybe you can make me a recommendation.
Yeah, there's a really easy, cheap, the one on Amazon. It comes with a fan on the back, and it's perfect. No problem. So I'm just trying to hit blue with my white. I'm not worried if I miss a little bit. Like if I've got a little bit of the white showing through.
Because that's actually, it will serve as a highlight.
That's right. It
actually looks more ghostly like this with some bit of white and black. And
yeah. It's just
it's looking awesome. Now I can tell everyone I painted it.
Do it. Alright, so I'm just going to bring a little... So here we are just going into the start of this black.
Yeah, so here's...
So I'm just gonna go really light. And then what we can do is we'll
carry the blue
pull it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I want this blue in this
maybe
sort of
halfway up. Right?
Yeah, like I want it in this sort of area, but I want it really light.
Yeah, but you can already see that it's a lot darker than the blue
without the shading, down. Right? Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, and we're out.
Right. Reload. So Ryan's actually the guy that painted my Tau army. So
yeah,
not including Logan's models, which are white. But yeah, everybody always remarking how cool my Tau army looks.
Oh really? Awesome. So I'm just turning up my pressure a little bit. I didn't quite have enough.
What pressure are you on now? Just out of interest.
I'm shooting around 22.
22. Okay.
Which the internet community is going to give me all kinds of hate for.
Nobody hates on our channel.
No. It's funny, there's a big discussion online every time about pressure versus airbrushing. Mm-hmm. And the consensus is the lower the pressure, the better, right? But the theory behind it is you, like the lower the pressure better, fine, as long as you're still atomizing the paint, right? As long as you're still taking the paint droplets and making them tiny, right? And airbrushable.
Yep.
But if you have it too low pressure, and low pressure advantage is that you have more control over your spray.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you have it too low, then it can splatter and not do what you want.
Yeah.
If you have it too high, it can dry before it hits the model and give you that kind of sandpaper texture that everybody, including me, hates.
That's if it's too high.
That's if it's too high, right? Like if you're spraying way too much, by the time it hits this, it's already dry and it plinks off, right?
Oh, okay.
Or it sticks as like sandpaper, which is also kind of frustrating. Just go down here in the bottom, get this sort of ghost thing going. Oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, it's looking really good.
This electric blue, the Vallejo Air electric blue, is one of my super secret strategies. It's amazing.
For Night Haunt.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I haven't tried the new Night Haunt paints yet.
You can try it. They're both here.
Oh, are they? That's awesome.
They're pretty good. They're like Nylak oxide, but just different color, which I think was the intention. A little bit more watery than Nylak oxide, which is what people used to use for this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna
really like this electric blue. Yeah. Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Oh yeah. I always make people cry whenever I paint.
Oh, it's so.
So I'm always just being careful about where I'm spraying near my black cloak because I don't want that to get... So
kind of like this area here, you want more coming up here?
Yeah, I do, because it looks like I've oversprayed a little bit here, right?
But that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is one of these like Bob Ross moments, happy accidents, right? So all I'm going to do is bring the blue a little bit higher up over here, and then it'll look intentional, and I can say, I want to do that the whole time.
Yeah.
So the other trick, I'm not sure if I said this already this evening, if I want to really be careful about how I'm taking paint up, I start it on the paper here, right? And make sure my brush is controlled the way I want, and then I can just bring it up. Not spraying very much. There we go. Okay. So now I've got just a little bit more from above, because this is going to be cool.
How about the inside of this tendril here?
This one? Oh yeah, because this is like the front of the model, right? Yeah. So we want to make sure.
Same with like this area here.
Yeah, but it's on the back side.
Oh, it's on the back side.
I'm not so sad about this being a little darker.
Yes. Okay.
Like yeah.
Because what you don't want to do is end up making him look too bright in general.
That's right. Well, I think the model is going to be quite dark, but his it's going to wrap around with this light, and it's going to be awesome.
Because I want to do a similar scheme on Lady Olinder. You see the new Lady.
Oh, she's the veiled one.
The veil.
Oh my god.
I want to do kind of this kind of. Well, now I'm going to use electric blue.
Do it.
Going to black or white. I haven't decided.
Yeah.
And then with like bloody eye sockets.
Oh no, that's super creepy.
Well, the model's kind of creepy.
Oh yeah,
she's totally like undead Ku Klux Klan / like horror movie model. So
yeah, she's gorgeous.
But that was the that was what I want. I just want to paint that model because I'm not using her in my army.
Oh really? You just want her?
Awesome model.
Yeah.
Same with the Black Coach.
Oh,
I just want that model because it's just so awesome.
I had the original, the old metal box. It was all pewter, and you had to glue each side together, and it was just, it's like, it's together.
It's just so fantastic. Yeah. Like, out of the park, they knocked that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at all these new sort of death releases. Like, well, gonna start up the old Undead Army again. Got me again, James. Games Workshop.
With this airbrush technique, you could literally do like a whole night army in no time, probably.
Yeah. That wouldn't take long. I have a secret plan to do a like an Eastern style undead army.
Okay.
I found some neat miniatures for them. They're obviously not Games Workshop, but they're like samurai that are like dead and shit like that.
Undead samurai? Oh, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so stay tuned to 2019 with Undead Samurai.
Oh my god.
When I finally get around to painting my own things again. All right, I think.
Dude, that looks sick.
I think that's what we're
How
going to do.
about on this side of the ghost at the top?
Oh, sorry. What were you? Oh, I need to do it back under there. And what were you like? Here.
No, on this side of the ghost, it doesn't seem like very much on this side.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but you know what? It's okay because I've got my super highlight. It's gonna be this kind of cool cream, and that's gonna be the ghosts.
Nice.
I didn't tell Darren the whole plan, but I do want this to be a little bit more. Oh, what's going on here? Out again? Oh, no, not out.
I don't know what to do about the inside of the cloak. It's just do it the same, I guess, because it makes sense that since it's all the same.
Well,
I mean, most of it's hidden by the body, to be honest. But this stuff at the bottom here, particularly on the inside.
Yeah.
Not sure what to do about that.
Well, I think we should probably do it now with.
Oh yeah, do it now for sure.
Yeah. All right. So this is when your brush is not doing what you want it to be doing, right? So first of all, when I push down, it spits out a little bit. That's super bad. And when I pull back a little, nothing happens. That's also bad. When I pull back more and more, okay, now we're starting, right? So what that tells me is I've got a plug in there, right? So it might be tip dry.
Oh, it's really blue. I can see it from here.
Yeah, that's right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean out this brush, which is what you do when you've got when you start to notice it's not acting up a little bit. We're gonna clean the brush, and then we'll finish the blue, and then we'll show you again when we start the teal highlight. Sound good?
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's looking good. So we just kind of did a little bit more. Just show us the cloak there, Ryan, because we did a bit more work on the cloak there. You know, bringing it up. That's nice.
A little bit more blue on the cloak.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. Boom. Okay.
Thanks. All right, so now we're just got going back to golden high flow teal.
Teal.
Or bleu lagon.
It's kind of a brighter blue than the electric blue.
That's right. Well, let's look a little bit more green in it. And what this is going to be is I want this to be our like super ghostly highlight. So it's going to be just sort of sporadically and on the ghost.
So you could even go to white eventually.
Yeah, but I think you probably find that better probably with a brush, like a really like dry brush or something.
Yeah.
So after I airbrush, airbrushes work really well with shades, like with washes, but not all of them, which is hilarious. But and like dry brushes, like really light dry brushes where you don't have a lot of paint. But when you start like putting brush strokes next to your airbrush, it can be really noticeable. Like it looks, it's a really different style, so you can see it.
Yeah.
So I do that for things like like Space Marine armor plating, right? Or like the trim on the edge, or like the chaos like armbands and like arrows that are everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Well, airbrush the miniature, and then I'll pick out all of his gold sort of trim, right? Like that sort of stuff like that like works, but you have to be a little bit like cognizant about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because it can look weird. But I'm just gonna pick.
Remind me to ask you at the end, what do you do about highlighting the black area of the cloak?
Oh, black is such a tricky color. Yeah.
That's an entirely different episode.
Yeah. Black's tricky color. All right, so I'm just checking to make
so
sure.
It's kind of like a teal color, yeah.
Yeah. So here's our blue. There's a little bit more green on it.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is just start with our ghosts. Just gonna go really light just to start. Easy to go light and too heavy. So it might not look like anything's happening.
Yeah, you tend to notice it after you've done a bit of it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like me and you put like a really crazy highlight on it. Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
You can definitely see it if you compare it to the rest of the tendril.
Yeah.
Kind of a more blue-green.
Yeah, so I don't want this everywhere. I just want it sort of on the ghosts, and I'm going to put it on the tendrils, but just sort of in parts.
Sparingly, yeah?
Yeah, sparingly, because I want to tie it into this,
yeah.
But I don't want all to look the same as the ghosts.
Yeah.
Right, because I love this is now looking almost exactly like the Warhammer ghosts.
Yeah, that's right.
The ghost issues.
The good combination of colors.
Put it down. Yeah, it's going to go a little bit. This is really lightly done, guys. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going back and forth a little bit with a couple of these tendrils. I'm going to try and get the edge or the end of this a little bit harder, because I want the sort of edges to be highlighted, right? Because this is like our highlight.
Yeah.
I'll just do the end of this cloak just a little bit. Let the mask go. Come on, everybody. Just
nice.
on the tip.
Nice.
We'll give some of the skulls here on the bottom a little bit more love. You might find later, Darren, that all you need on the skulls is a bit of a wash. Or yeah, like you might need like you don't have to take them to bone. You can if you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at reference material, because it kind of doesn't make sense if it's still intact bone, but kind of looks like bone. So I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. Also, I haven't decided what to do with the base.
Yeah, the stuff I've seen so far of the new sort of undead, I'm just picking up a little bit of the corners of this.
Yeah,
it's a little bit harder than I wanted to. Let's try to introduce our color a little bit more. So when you don't have a color in an area, it can look weird, but like you need to bring the color in from a few different places. But so the inside of our cloak's pretty dark still.
Yep.
That's okay, because we'll have a big skeleton here.
How about further down the bottom?
Yeah, we could definitely. So it's interesting. I wonder. I don't think that this is going to bring it up enough. But actually, it might do a perfect job. Good call, Darren. Because it's not going to be bright, right? It's going to be like before, where we're
and you don't have to slap any white or anything on it.
Well, we can if it turns out what we're doing isn't enough, or like if you want it to, we can definitely put more color on it. We left sort of the back part of these tendrils a little bit darker, intentionally at the beginning, just so that
it look more shadowed. Yeah,
just so it can be a little bit more shadowed. But obviously that can.
And if you're looking at the back of the gash, you're already dead.
Whoa! Yeah. I'm just trying to bring some of this color around. That's gonna be really cool. This has been a really fun project, Aaron.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's nothing on YouTube of people actually live airbrushing the gash.
Oh yeah?
I tried to look for it.
Oh no.
Logan has a video of his end result painting the gash from like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like the 4th hit, if you search YouTube for painting the gash.
Wow.
And the first 4 hits are Duncan's 4-part series on painting the gash. And that's like it, and that's it. As far as I can tell, I haven't found any videos of people painting the gash.
That's right, so CanHammer #1, eh?
So there you go.
Yeah.
Famous now, Ryan.
Well, we'll see, we'll get there.
That's awesome. That looks really awesome.
Great.
It looks almost like just like that picture, our source.
Yeah. It's kind of cool when that happens, isn't it?
I love that the ghosts really pop, especially once we get more highlights on it.
Yeah.
But then his cloak is like so dark. It's just awesome.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well, eh?
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah.
Now I'll just fuck it up by screwing up the base, but that's okay.
That's
What you should do is just like a clear base.
okay. Oh, like a water effect? Or you mean like leave it sort of glowy?
I don't know. That the source picture we're using has a cool base. It's got like a pentagram drawn on some stone.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Well, it's interesting because normally I would suggest something like picking sort of contrasting colors for your base so that it like pops against it, right? But with something like this, whatever you choose to do, like, and you have like say an orangey kind of base, right, or maybe like a brownish orange or a mud or like whatever you want to pick to like differentiate your base from your model.
Yeah.
What you can do to bring it all together is take some of this electric
Just
glue and just really lightly go over the bottom. And it'll sort of like it'll really help trick your everyone that's
look
looking.
Like he's sort of coming from the ground or whatever. That's a great idea.
I like it a lot.
It almost kind of doesn't matter what you do for the base.
Well, that's right? Like, so if you pick whatever your, like, if you wanted to do graveyard theme or whatever you wanted to do for your sort of.
I was thinking the marble effect.
Oh yeah, cool.
It's kind of in his.
Like in his mausoleum, so to speak.
Room or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nice. Sometimes it helps.
You gotta know when to stop, eh? Sometimes.
Oh my god, yeah. So, Tabletop Minions, the Facebook group, Uncle Atom there has a great YouTube video, which is talking about when to stop, basically. And it's not like there's like a solution. It's not like a stop now, right? It's not. That's not the answer to this, right?
Right now.
But it's just sharing a story about how when he was in college for art, he was working on a piece, like a more traditional piece, and
I want to try to like tag these a little.
Sure, yeah, I'll bring it up a little bit more. Yeah, he's talking about how he was chasing this finish on his traditional art piece, and the instructor saw it and was like, said and then the next day came back. And Adam had kept working on it, and the instructor came up and was like, "Oh no, you finished it yesterday. Like you took it too far, right?" And, so that is a completely subjective story, of course, but it was really interesting to me how. What do you like? A little bit more there? Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring that up. It was really interesting to me how I never considered, right? Like, oh yeah, clearly art can go on forever. No, sometimes you can in fact overdo it.
But if you don't stop and reassess once in a while, you end up just going and going, and then you might go too far.
Yeah.
It's always easy. You can always add more, but you can't take away.
A lot harder to take away, that's for sure. Trying to even it out a little bit more.
Nice. All right. Nice.
Let's it up a little bit more. We're almost there.
That looks awesome.
Keep turning with us, guys. I think that's good enough for now, Darren.
That looks really good. Really good.
That's right.
Way better than I could have done, that's for sure.
That was not bad.
Oh yeah, that looks really cool.
The total painting time wasn't that long either.
Nope.
But it looks like magic.
Yeah.
The airbrushes are magic, everyone.
Really awesome. No offense to Duncan's method, but that just seems really painstaking.
It is.
Such tools. Okay, so I'm going to ask you that question now. What do you do with this black cloak? Because you said, like, if I put brush highlights on there now, that's going to look really janky.
Well, what I would do, I would start with a blue, I would try and find a blue or a teal, something close to this.
Yeah. Maybe that blue-gray color?
Maybe. Maybe. I would try and find a color that you liked that was somewhere in this palette anyway.
Yeah.
I would start by just picking the very like little bits of these folds that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because that'll give you a great sort of test, because they are going to be the biggest highlight.
Right? You mean like with a brush just around the inside of these circles? Yeah,
so like this is not the right brush for this job, guys.
I don't even know what you use that brush for.
Something big. 12, yeah, wow. Anyway, so you would take and pick this sort of fold here, and there's one here, and there's one here. And you could just do a really small dry brush, right? Just tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
Tick, 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 tick. Just to see if what you were doing was on the right track or if it was ruining it, right? Just do it slowly, do it in parts. Do it with do you know the trick for, here's a pro tip for controlling how much paint's on your dry brush. Oh, that's a bad spot. All right. You take your paint, right? You work it into a paper towel.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth in the paper towel. You can take it and brush it on your thumb, and you want almost nothing to come onto your thumb.
Okay.
Right? So you're going to work it back and forth, back and forth. And when you do this and almost nothing comes off, then you can start trying to put it on here.
Okay, that's a good tip.
But it's just working into the paper towels, trying to draw the moisture out of it.
Yeah.
So these pre-mixed paints like the Vallejo's or the Games Workshops, no, like yeah, that you could use the Games Workshop dries are basically just the paints with less medium, right? Yeah. But whatever color you choose, it's going to be more liquidy than you need it to be, right? Yeah. So you're just going to be trying to get rid of that liquid, And I find commonly when I'm using a Games Workshop or a Vallejo color, I have to, like, I'll take my paint, I'll work it onto my brush, and then I'll start working that into the paper towel, right? And I'll work it until there's nothing left on the brush, right? So you have to go get a little bit more, and then by the second time through, now you can start testing, right? But anyways, I keep it really, really light, like light amount of paint, and you can pick. You can take this a little further and make it a little brighter. So you can take this blue or this teal and add just a dot of white to it, mix it up. Yeah. Because you're just trying to bring this highlight up a little bit more. You asked what to do about the cloak.
Yeah. Like, you know, like these folds up here.
Yeah. Okay, so you see in the light now, right, that we've got shadows and highlights on the cloak, right? If you are willing to put in the really painstakingly effort, you can paint those shadows, right? And that's basically saying you're gonna do a really thin, it's called glazing. In like in Games Workshop terms, glazing is like I've got like a metallic or something and I'm just gonna like glaze over it, which is like a wash, like a thin wash, but glazing in this term, it means actually ridiculously small amounts of paint. That's like painting with milk. Yeah. I don't recommend it. It is very technical, right? So for a black cloak like this, what you can do is I would probably start with a wash, right? I would start with a wash.
What, like Nolan oil?
No. Games Workshop makes some great washes, all the different colors. If you were gonna just go here, you could pick the like crimson, the red, or the blue or the purple, right? Like
the blue is very dark.
Yeah, I know. And whatever it is you're washing over, it's gonna basically not show because you're painting on black, right? But you're gonna find it's gonna give you a little bit more depth to that color.
It's like the Batmobile is actually dark green, it's not black.
That's right, yeah.
Because it looks darker.
Yeah, and it's also darker because the highlights on the Batmobile are red, and red's the complementary color to green. Okay. So it's how you create your shadow. Anyway. Yeah. So you can take a really small dry brush and try and pick out this ridge, right, by going across. Yeah. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. Painting black is really tricky. Another option you can do to paint black is leave this black, or if you want, you can paint it black. But you have to stop because somewhere around here is when our blue starts coming in, right? So what you can do is just take all of your holes and pick them and the edge of this,
and then
right?
leave it at that.
And pick it with a gray, like a medium gray or something like that, right? And that's like your highlight. So you'd pick maybe only the bottom of this big hole, right? The bottom of each hole with gray.
And leave the folds.
Yeah, and leave the folds.
Because across here will be a staff.
Yep. Yeah, because you might not.
It draws a lot of attention. Yeah. If you put the edges and the holes out. I have to have a closer look at the source. Unfortunately, that picture is just from the front, but on their website, maybe there's a picture from the back of the person done that.
Yeah, like I think the source shows highlights along the bottom of these holes.
Have like color inside of it.
Yeah, but it's not along the top, right? Because it's the light source is coming from here, right?
Yeah. No.
So I'm on the camera again. Light source is coming from here.
Yeah.
So this part isn't going to be highlighted.
Yeah.
It's this part that's going to be highlighted, right?
Okay.
So you're just going to pick this, but leave that. And that's just going to how you sort of help, right? And I think that'll be enough. You can pick the edge, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. I think that'll be good enough, but you know, your mileage may vary, but
I think on the edge I'll just do the usual kind of dark reaper, and then something a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Just on the points because it's kind of ragged edged.
Yeah.
Okay. So hope people have found that helpful. I certainly have, and this taking Nagash from bare plastic, the bottom bit anyway, the top bit is kind of boring. This is the interesting part about painting Nagash. So from bare plastic all the way to almost done. So what we'll do is, we'll let Ryan go because he's done the hard part now. We'll probably do some further highlighting on these ghosts, try and do the back of the cloak. And then eventually we'll pick out all the books and stuff, but that's a separate painting job. I think that would be like impossible to do with airbrush without killing the blue, right? Like you have to use a brush for that.
You could mask all the blue, like possible but annoying. Like,
annoying.
Honestly, at that point, just brush it. It'll be better.
Then they would actually just stand out as something different. Anyway,
it's fine. They're different. They're not ghosts.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you very much, Ryan. Ryan, of course, from 1 Year, 1 Army Painting. Check it out. What's your website, Ryan?
Yeah, so it's just oneyear1army.com. Go check it out. You can see all of my new stuff coming up, and I've got a course launching near the end of the year, which should be exciting stuff.
That sounds really exciting. Yeah. You've already been doing like a few impromptu kind of basic painting techniques at Multizone.
Yep.
So it'll be really cool to actually have like a formal course and stuff, especially if you can get sponsored. You probably could.
Probably. Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I know you could get sponsored. But so check him out, 1 Year, 1 Army Painting. Thank you very much, Ryan, for giving us your time and dealing with my daughter and doing such a fantastic job on Nagash here. And hope we don't ruin it with what I'm going to mess around with.
You'll be fine.
So if you like this video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel and consider supporting us on Patreon by clicking the link up there. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. The next video will probably be me trying not to ruin Nagash and finishing it off. So stay tuned for the next work in progress video as well.
Good luck.